All right, let's dive into the future of how we watch MLB. I mean, is it even on TV anymore?
Well, that's what we're looking at today.
The Score.com article, does MLB need traditional TV more than it's willing to admit? Really makes you think.
It does.
They're ditching those big TV contracts and jumping headfirst into streaming.
Yeah.
But is it going to work out? That's the big question, isn't it?
It is a big question.
Yeah.
And the timing is interesting, right?
Yeah.
Especially with ESPN just backing out of their deal with MLB.
Whoa, hold on. Back up for a sec. 3 years early, they opted out.
3 years early.
That's a lot of money to leave on the table.
$550 million a year.
$550 million. I mean, why would they do that? What's the story there?
Well, the commissioner, he's saying it was mutual.
Mm-hmm.
Even suggested that ESPN wasn't giving baseball enough coverage outside of the games themselves.
So basically saying ESPN wasn't a good partner.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
But that sounds a little fishy to me.
Yeah.
The article and some other sources I've seen hint that it was actually ESPN who decided to walk away.
Really?
Probably because they weren't seeing the return on their investment that they were hoping for.
Makes sense, I guess.
Money talks.
Always. But here's something that really throws a curveball into the whole thing. One of the ESPN radio guys actually said that the opt-out clause, it was MLB's idea in the first place.
Interesting.
Makes you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes, right?
It does, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
It seems like maybe MLB's public stance and what's really happening don't quite line up. But this whole ESPN thing, it's just a small part of a much bigger story, isn't it?
What do you mean?
The whole media landscape is shifting.
Yeah.
Cable's dying, streaming is booming.
You're telling me I haven't had cable in years.
Right. It's everywhere. But it's impacting sports in some big ways.
How so? I mean, people still want to watch the games, don't they?
They do, but think about it. Regional sports networks, they're taking a huge hit. Cable subscriptions are plummeting, which is a huge source of income for them.
Makes sense.
And even those big national broadcasters, they're seeing viewership numbers drop too.
So what happens? Can streaming services like Apple TV and Amazon Prime really fill the gap?
That's the million-dollar question. Can they get enough subscribers to make it worthwhile for the leagues and the teams?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's a big gamble for MLB.
It is.
They're stepping into the streaming world, but it's not a sure bet. I mean, look at the NFL.
Right.
They seem to be killing it with streaming.
They are.
Putting games on all sorts of platforms, and fans are still watching.
Well, the NFL is a bit of a special case, right?
How so?
They have this massive dedicated fan base.
Yeah, that's true.
So they have a lot of leverage. They can experiment with these different platforms and streaming services, and fans will follow them.
Okay, I get that. But does that mean it'll work for other sports?
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Can MLB, or any other sport for that matter, expect that same kind of loyalty?
I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to subscribe to 100 different streaming services just to watch a few games.
And that's what it could come down to. Will fans pay?
Exactly.
It's a tough sell, especially when they're used to having everything conveniently on cable.
Speaking of tough sells, the article mentioned Apple's Friday Night Baseball, and, well, let's just say it hasn't exactly been a home run.
It hasn't been a huge talking point, has it?
Not really. You don't see people going crazy for it on social media.
And Apple keeps those viewership numbers pretty hush-hush.
Which usually means they're not great. And then there's the whole MLS debacle.
Oh, yeah.
They went all in with Apple TV.
They did.
Global broadcasting rights, the whole shebang.
Yeah, and soccer fans are fuming.
They don't want to subscribe to another service just to watch their team.
They want options.
Right. And get this, the ratings for the MLS Cup, they plummeted almost 50% since it moved to Apple TV.
Ouch.
That's got to be a red flag for any league thinking about ditching traditional TV, don't you think?
It should be, yeah. It shows that maybe, unlike the NFL, fans of other sports aren't ready to fully commit to streaming.
Maybe they like having their cake and eating it too, you know? A little cable, a little streaming.
They want choices.
Right. So where does that leave MLB?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It seems like they're walking a tightrope here.
Yeah.
Fans aren't necessarily on board with streaming. The big TV deals are drying up, and the financial stability of the league is on the line.
It could be bumpy ride.
Especially for the smaller market teams.
Definitely. They rely heavily on revenue from those national TV deals.
It's not like the Dodgers or the Yankees who have those huge local TV deals to fall back on.
Exactly. So what happens to those smaller teams if that national TV money dries up?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Could get interesting.
You think?
Definitely. They could face some serious budget crunches, impact everything from player salaries to, just their ability to compete.
Right. And then you have to consider the players' union. They're not going to sit back and watch this happen.
Definitely not. This could affect contract negotiations, the balance of power within the league.
It's a whole domino effect.
It is.
But I feel like we're missing something here.
What do you mean?
Okay, we've talked about money, we've talked about streaming, but shouldn't we be talking about the game itself?
Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, the popularity of baseball has taken a hit.
Yeah, nationally it has.
People still love their local teams, and of course the World Series is a huge event, but those regular season games, they're just not bringing in the viewers like they used to.
It's true.
So the question is why? Is it because the games are too long? Is it the lack of star power?
Could be a number of factors.
Or is it something else entirely? Maybe people are just, busy with other things these days.
There are definitely some deeper issues at play here.
Yeah, and to really understand what MLB is up against, I think we need to dig into those issues a bit more.
I think that's a good idea. We need to understand the challenges before we can come up with solutions.
Right. All right, so let's take a closer look at some of those factors and see what we can uncover.
Let's do it.
Okay, but there's something else we need to consider here.
What's that?
The whole fan experience. It just hits different,
You're right.
Watching a game on a streaming service, it's just not the same as flipping on the TV.
It's not.
And I think that could be a big part of why MLB is having trouble getting people to tune in.
Yeah, I think you're right. Think about it. You're sitting down to watch the game. You've got your snacks. You're ready to go. And then buffering
Oh, the worst.
or some kind of technical glitch, and you miss a crucial play.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating.
It totally kills the vibe.
Exactly.
And sometimes, honestly, the commentary and the production quality, it's just not as good on streaming.
It can be a bit rough around the edges.
It feels like you're watching, I don't know, like a B-team broadcast.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Hmm.
And that might be okay for the diehards.
The ones who will watch no matter what.
Right. But for those casual fans,
Yeah.
the ones who are just kind of checking in, that could be enough to make them say, forget this, I'm going to watch something else.
And let's be real, streaming can get expensive.
Oh, yeah.
You need multiple subscriptions if you want to watch all the games. It adds up fast.
It does.
It's not just the money either.
No,
It's a hassle.
it is.
You're jumping between apps, trying to remember which game is on which platform.
It's a lot.
Remember when we used to just gather on the TV on a Sunday afternoon?
Simpler times.
Game of the week, everyone's together, it's a shared experience.
That's what's missing, isn't it?
Yeah, that sense of community. It's harder to get that with streaming.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of off in their own little world.
It's a more isolated way to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem for MLB.
How so?
That sense of community, that feeling of belonging to something bigger.
Right.
It's a big part of why people love sports.
Absolutely. It brings people together.
Exactly. And if MLB wants to succeed with streaming, they need to find a way to keep that alive.
So how do they do that?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It is.
How do you recreate those shared moments when everyone's watching in different places on different devices?
It's a challenge, but not impossible.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe they need to think outside the box a little bit.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Right. How about creating online communities for fans to connect? Or virtual watch parties?
Oh, like watching together online.
Exactly.
I like it.
Or maybe they could find ways to integrate social media into the streaming experience itself.
Make it more interactive, you mean?
Right.
So it's not just about passively watching a game.
Make it an event.
I can see that, but this isn't just an MLB problem, is it?
No, you're right.
This whole streaming thing is shaking up the entire sports industry.
You're absolutely. Every league is grappling with us.
Yeah.
Declining TV viewership,
Yeah.
the rise of streaming, figuring out how to engage fans in this new world.
Just like we're in the middle of this massive shift.
We are.
And the old playbook, it just doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't.
So what happens next? I mean, it's kind of exciting, don't you think?
It is exciting, but a little nerve-wracking too.
Yeah, it's like we're stepping into this uncharted territory.
Totally. A new frontier for sports.
And the decisions that leagues like MLB make today, they're going to have a ripple effect for years to come.
Absolutely. The leagues that are willing to adapt, experiment, listen to their fans,
Yeah.
those are the ones that are going to thrive.
And the ones that cling to the old ways.
Well, they might get left behind.
I bet our listeners sitting at home thinking, okay, this is all very interesting, but what does it mean for me? Am I going to have to shell out a ton of money just to watch my favorite team play?
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we don't have all the answers yet.
Yeah.
The future of sports broadcasting is still being written.
But one thing's for sure, it's changing fast.
It is.
And we, as fans, need to be ready to adapt
We do.
and stay informed.
Absolutely.
The more we understand about what's happening, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this new world of sports.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, we've talked about the impact on fans, but we're not done yet. What else is there?
We need to talk about solutions.
Solutions.
What can MLB do to make sure baseball thrives in this digital age? That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll jump right into those solutions. All right, so we've talked about the challenges, but what about solutions? How can MLB make sure America's pastime thrives in this digital world?
Well, they need to think about the younger fans. You know, the ones who grew up with streaming, on-demand, everything.
Yeah, okay.
That's the audience they need to attract.
So how do they do that? Just put the games online and hope for the best.
No, it's got to be more than that. They need to rethink the whole presentation, the format.
Like what? Shorter games?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Anything to make it more appealing to viewers who are used to that fast-paced, on-demand content.
I see what you're saying. It's got to be an experience, something that grabs their attention and keeps them hooked.
Right. Maybe even incorporate elements of fantasy sports or online gaming.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, find ways to blend those worlds. Make it something that feels tailor-made for this streaming generation.
Okay, I like it. But we can't forget about the business side of things.
Right.
We talked about how those TV deals are disappearing. How's MLB going to make up for that lost revenue?
Well, they could try partnering with multiple streaming services.
Spread the risk a bit.
Exactly. Diversify that revenue stream. But they gotta be careful not to make things too complicated for fans.
Yeah, you don't want people getting lost in a maze of subscriptions and platforms.
That's exactly. Keep it simple.
And what about the smaller market teams? We can't leave them behind.
We can't. And here's an idea. Might sound a little crazy.
Okay, I'm listening.
What if MLB created its own streaming platform?
Whoa, their own platform. Like Netflix for baseball.
Exactly. They could call it MLB TV Plus or something like that.
And MLB TV Plus, I like the sound of that.
They could offer a full package of games, exclusive content, behind-the-scenes stuff, interactive features, you name it.
That's a big undertaking.
It is, but it could give them so much control over their content, their revenue, their relationship with fans.
I mean, it would be a game changer for the whole league.
It would. It would let them really experiment, try new things, attract those younger viewers.
So what does this all mean for the future of baseball? 5, 10 years down the road, what are we looking at?
I think we're going to see a much more personalized viewing experience.
Personalized? How so?
Well, imagine being able to choose different camera angles, pull up stats on demand, interact with other fans in real time.
That's pretty cool.
It is cool. It's about making it an interactive, engaging experience, not just passively watching a game.
And hopefully MLB can figure out a way to maintain that competitive balance.
Absolutely. That's crucial. We don't want a league where only a handful of rich teams can afford to win.
Right. It's got to be a level playing field.
It does. It's going to take some creativity, some collaboration, but I think they can do it.
So the future of baseball, it's uncertain, but there's a lot of potential there.
There is. It's a time of change, but it's also a time of opportunity.
And as we've seen, it's not just about baseball, it's the whole sports landscape that's evolving.
It is, yeah. We're all in this together, figuring it out as we go.
Well, hopefully this deep dive has given our listeners some things to think about. The way we experience sports is definitely changing, but one thing remains constant.
What's that?
The passion of the fans.
That's never going to change.
Nope. So to everyone listening out there, keep those baseball caps on and stay tuned. The future of America's pastime is just getting started.